Hi, and welcome to another installment of Pixelperfect with me, Bert Monroy. Today we're going to talk about type treatments. Not your normal type, we're going to mess around with it. We're going to play around with type and create some really cool effects. So, what I want to do is something that's really great for those little baby announcements or whatever you want to do. Okay, it's not the end result of what I get, it's how I got there. It's the techniques that were involved. Because sometimes a variation on that technique will totally solve another problem that you might come up with. So let's just go in here and start creating some type. Now, what I want is some nice little fluffy letters, nice and pillows, with nice little shape to them and a nice little rim around them, a little trim, just to make them look really cool. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to type up, let's just use a nice straight font like Helvetica, okay? So I'm going to type over here, type the word baby. Okay? And let's make it much bigger. Let's go in there and let's just say we make it 280 points. 280 points. Okay, and I can even make it bigger this way too. I can just go into good old transform and scale it this way. So get some nice big letters going there, just like that. All right, now, here's the thing. I want these letters to be big, fluffy pillows. And right now it's just very straight type, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the type into a selection by command-clicking on the preview icon right there, which turns the active pixels of that layer into a selection. All right, so in previous versions, you just command-clicked on the layer in the palette, but now with CS2, you have to command-click on the preview icon. So now I'm going to save that selection. I'm going to say Save Selection, which turns it into an alpha channel. So I click OK, and now I can deselect, and I can throw away the type. I don't need it anymore. It's gone. I'm going to create a new layer where I am going to put my type. So I'm going to go in there and call that Baby. But I'm going to create my type in the alpha channel, which is right there. Now, I said I wanted it to be nice and round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blur this type. Go into my filters and go down to Gaussian blur, right there. And I'm going to give it enough blur so I get a nice rounded edge. Like I see right there, maybe that's a little too much. Let's bring it down a little bit. Right about there. That's a nice little roundness to it. And I'll click OK. Now you're looking at that as kind of blurry. That doesn't look like pillows. It looks like blurry type, right? Well, now we're going to play around with that. I'm going to call up my levels. I'm going to go into my adjustments and bring up levels. Now, depending on which slider I move, these letters are going to get fatter or thinner. But I am going to bring all the tones together to sharpen up the edges. If I bring in my blacks, you see the letters are getting thinner. If I bring in my whites, you see that they're getting thicker. So I'm going to kind of go towards the middle here to get nice big fluffy letters like about there. And then I'm going to bring the other guys in to meet it. And I'm going to keep moving them around. And there you can see I'm getting this nice rounded kind of a type based on the original Helvetica, but now it's nice fluffy round type. I click OK. I can now use this alpha channel to make the new selection based on the new rounded edge type. So I go back to my RGB and I load that channel. I'll do it via the menu. Come up here, say load selection, and there's my, right here, my alpha 1. Go ahead and load it, and there it is. Make sure I'm in the right layer, baby layer, and I'm going to go in there and give this a nice little tone. Let's go in there and let's fill it with this nice baby blue over here. So I'm going to go ahead and fill it. Let's deselect that. Now I have this nice tone going on there. I do want to give it a little rim, right? So let's select it again. Let's bring it back to a selection, and in another layer, I'm going to call that layer the little rim. Rim. And let's pick another color. Let's say this bright yellow. That's a nice kind of a baby color, right? So I'm going to go in there and stroke that selection now. So I come over here and I say stroke, and let's give it a stroke of about, let's say 10 pixels on the outside. And click OK. Now I got this nice little rim around it. Now we can deselect it. All right, now let's give it dimension. Let's make it look rounded. I'm going to go into the layer styles for that little word baby. And let's give it a little bevel and emboss, which right off the bat you see it gave it a little lift from the page. I'm going to increase the depth so I get really strong lights and darks and increase the size, kind of like that. And now I'm going to soften it. Just soften that. So now there are these nice little soft pillows going on there. You get this nice little effect happening. Now I also want a little tiny edge right along here, a little tiny shadow, because the little rim, that little trim on the sides, is going to cause a little shadow, right? It is raised from the surface, therefore it's going to retain light, so you got to think of a little shadow. It adds that dimension to it. So I'm going to give it a little inner shadow as well, right in there, which I'm going to choke a little bit, make it a little sharper, and make the size a little smaller, and maybe make it a little deeper. So I get this little shadow right along the edges, right in there. I click OK. Now we need to do something to the rim itself. So I'm going to go into the layer styles for the rim and give it that same bevel and emboss. Go in there, increase the depth, make it a little softer, and make the size a little smaller. Let's bring it down to about 2 so it won't be so strong. I click OK, and there we see that we have this cool little puffy, pillowy little text for the word baby. Now this could be anything that you want it to be. The choice of colors is going to determine what it is, but you have this nice effect based on original text that we totally modified to get it nice and puffy. If you have any ideas of something you'd like to see, something you've come up with at work, email me and tell me what you'd like to see on the show. Email me at bert@revision3.com. Hope to see you in the next show. Hope you learned something today. Have a good time. Remember to keep playing. That's how you learn in Photoshop. Considering it playing is the way to do it. It's not work, it's play. Have a good time. See you in the next show.